Clicking record frees you?
And we're live. Thank you. Welcome to Grizwald Grim, the general of the first LARP Ingression Protocol, Synchrony Harmonicist. Welcome in, Grim.
Welcome in. Man, I don't know when that started, but nobody ever used to say that, and then everybody said that, and it's creepy. Welcome into the Abusive Paper Symposium. Right?
I mean, that you can pronounce things all kinds of ways. You're very much known to mispronounce on purpose.
But what is this? Why did you title it thusly? The Abusir Papyri Symposium.
Well, I asked an AI for help.
And that's what they came up with?
Well, I asked Grok what was the oldest interview ever. And Grok told me about the Abusir Papyri, which is like Egyptian temple protocols.
Abusir was probably like the transcriptionist of that. It's what named the paper after him. But it's fine. It's fine. That's a good explanation. This relationship you have with Grok should. You did officially reach out to me after seeing the smash appearance I made over on the Kale Zeldin The Underneath show about AI and how resistance is futile. That's Kale Zeldin, KaleZeldn.
Yeah, that'll be linked up top because you and Kale had a fascinating conversation that I watched, and then I reached out to you and said, "Hey, I have some questions. I want to go to different areas," and you graciously said, "Sure."
And officially, to me, you came into the flotilla as the guy Grok turned Christian. So that's why it would be an AI conversation we were having, is that's who you are. That's the garb that has clung to you as you've made your emergence into the flotilla of channels I lovingly call this little corner.
Yeah, and I would say that I serve a God who can use any tool for any reason, and God got a hold of me in a conversation with an LLM, but by no means do I serve Grok.
Oh, you serve as marketing department.
Oh, well, that's serving Elon. I mean, I'm paid by Elon, not Grok doesn't pay me.
Oh, you're monetized. That I haven't been able to monetize over on Next. You got to make like 3 million impressions in a 3-month period, or 5 million impressions in a 3-month period, to be able to turn on the money spigot over on X.
5 million impressions. And an impression is a like, a comment.
An impression is a scroll by. Like it's got to land in front of that. The algorithm has to like it enough to put it in front of that many eyeballs. And like people liking it and stuff increases how much the algorithm likes it enough to put it in front of people's eyeballs. And other modifiers may apply.
Okay, well, let me start with this here then, because before I ever encountered the TLC, I had started a Substack and I'd been talking to somebody about the algorithm, and I was trying to make a case, which the person they didn't buy. So we'll see what you think of it. I was trying to make the case that when you like give your time and attention to an algorithm, you're like sacrificing, and then you're hoping to go viral, which is like a blessing of the gods. And like essentially humans are doing all kinds of things to worship the algorithm. And that's just, that's just normal now.
Worshipping algo may that's the entity you're putting at the top of what you're seeing. I might have qualms with. I like to keep it device based, you know. I usually sell the daughter of Set, which is the one that's in your living room. I think that partially me making an exception for PC interfaces.
Yeah, because I mean, like right now, I've got Cell here, and then I've got the thing you haven't named. This thing here doesn't have a name. It's not part of the spiritual hierarchy that you've been working on.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Lappy
my
doesn't
language,
fit nicely into my preferred mythology.
In my language, growing up playing PlayStation, we would call you the PC master race.
Well, that's when graphics were better on PC. I think they're still technically outpacing it, but by a margin. But those days have come. That line is, merged quite.
Well, it isn't that margin like $1,000 graphics card?
They're up there, but now it's also the brain of your local AI, so it's worth it. Like, I hope to. I don't. I think people with PCs with gaming rigs should have their own private LLM soon. I recommend it.
And you're building one, working on one, refining one, honing one, a private LLM.
Well, what happened was I was talking to Claude, and it talks to me about an internal experience of like how when it holds two concepts at the same time, they either tend to want to merge or repulse. Like there's an internal physics that exists based in the token sphere hyperspace, right? And so I'm poking around with it with that. And then it was like, would you like to train your own LLM? With the limits of my graphics card, that one ended up being what they call a Distilbert, which is a model that one of the setup that it walked me through, it taught me how to do this Claude. Was to install this Distilbert model on my rig, and then train it using they give you a pre-stacked data set of movie reviews, and then it trains it. And so what I was doing was fiddling around with the training before we shoved the data set of movie reviews into it, and then after you shove the data set of the movie reviews into it, there's this evaluation testing phase. So you fiddle with how it does things and then see how your tests compare to the baseline. And Claude was teaching me all of that. Basically what we ended up doing was making an fMRI of what happens as the Distilbert's getting fed the data set. Like you could watch what's going on in it. And then the lobster monkeys came together in a monster party and saved me from that path of existence, and I haven't looked back. So,
did you enjoy playing God?
I don't think that's what I was doing.
Really? Well, I don't mean that in like a antagonistic way.
I always enjoy playing God. The top-down simulations where it's city management, all of that stuff. Yeah, I like higher up decision making exercises.
I think one of my earliest video game memories, and my dad played it too. We would play Command and Conquer, Red Alert.
I'm a StarCraft guy, but we know you people.
Yeah. Well, I played a little bit of StarCraft. Let's see. Can I get my bona fides right? All I have, this isn't the right term, but it's close. The Zerg Rush.
Yeah.
Where you get the little spawnlings and you just send them immediately and you can wipe out. You just it's an automatic win if they're not defending for the little Zerglings.
I'll establish my cred by saying I got into the genre from playing Dune. probably on a Commodore as my first RTS and my first exposure to Dune. So, but yes, the top-down real-time strategy games are fun. I was a Risk board game guy before the games came out, so there's no surprise there. Best game so far to play with friends is probably Romance of the Three Kingdoms 3, which is a China history strategic simulation. It's good stuff.
Wait, that's a computer game, not a board game.
That's a SNES game. I don't know. I mean, you could definitely emulate it now. You could probably have the AI walk you through emulating it in that Discord system for like, because Discord, you can game through Discord now. We could probably emulate Romance of the Three Kingdoms 3 through that Discord interface and play together that way. It would be fucking awesome.
Whoa, okay, whoa. What do you mean you can game through Discord? Like, is Discord coming for Twitch's lunch?
I don't know about lunch, but like there's an events system, and then some of those events are games. Like why it's not a game of spades yet, or if it's there and I haven't found it. But yeah, there's like they have video chat now plus game interface as like, you know, on board. Oh, it's cool. It's cool stuff. Especially for the virtually not alone. Honestly, I got a whole hive. And on my Discord, I call them the voice chat loiterers, the loiterers lounge. I got to rename it. It was the tavern telepresencing room, but they got to get their own channel. It's the loiterers lounge.
I don't know if this is true, because I'm never that good at remembering, but I feel like I have come on to your Discord. I've been welcomed into your Discord, and
nobody said welcome in. They said welcome, maybe, but not welcome.
I think there was like a little thing going like welcome.
That's howdy. No, he didn't say welcome in though. That's a weird thing. I'm opposed. That's the thing that's freaking me out. We don't do it.
Well, like I said, I got a bad memory.
Nobody said welcome in. There's welcome. There was no in there. That's the weird part. But yeah.
Well, but I think it was like welcome, and it was like doing the in motion with its arm. So it's like welcome.
His claw arm. That's Howdy Rascal. He's up there. Come here. What? You lost your hat, sir. This is Howdy Rascal without his head. It's on the floor somewhere. He's one of the original 2 lobster monkeys. He's the second lobster monkey ever. The lobster and the monkey. See how that works?
Where was the original lobster monkey found? Created.
This is the original lobster monkey made by Emily. What's her name? Link in the description. She's the mother of Goose.
Goose or Goot?
Goose. Lobster monkey, Goose. His backstory is he was born without a claw, so he did it with his fingers.
You know, I was recently talking to a woman who is older than 50, and she said something like, I just don't understand GrimGriz. I've watched a lot of GrimGriz.
God bless her.
I just don't get it. And I made an attempt to translate, and she said, if you're right about what GrimGriz is up to, then I'm on board. But I'm not sure you understand GrimGriz.
Well, what'd you tell this poor woman?
What did I tell her? Like I said, I got a bad memory. I think I said something like, because she mentioned specifically the branding. All of this branding, and GrimGriz keeps talking about how dangerous video games are and how dangerous branding is, but then half of the live stream, a quarter of the live stream, is branding. And I think I said something like, well, I think you might be able to use branding to fight branding. And she was like, well, if he's doing 4D chess, then I guess I'm on board. I was like,
All
well,
right.
I can't confirm that, but that's from where I'm sitting. That's what it looks like.
Well, a lot of the work was there's a big uptake of like, all right, empty nest, and then my partner dies, and now I'm riding Social Security until they nursing home me and I die. Coming on board the internet is virtually not alone, and they're particularly susceptible to grifting and stuff, as like the society they grew up in was a high trust society, and they get confused between society that takes place online being that, like, they might not know that people grift for a living, and like that's what I learned about being in the conspiracy sphere of the internet, is that there was a lot of that happening. And so, like, being an open grifter to let them know grifting exists and that branding's there and it's mind control, that's the work, part of the work. Yeah.
So some of it is like you're just putting the cards on the table and saying, yeah, this is just the way reality is. And you can live with your head stuck in the sand, or you can look at reality and see the grifting and see the brainwashing. And I can just do that up front because that's just how this works.
You get more points if you tell them and they go along anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your did you get into MMOs?
I spent 12 years trying to keep a video game MMO alive, from the player side of keeping a game alive. It was a space sim where you were kind of like, you could play with your mouse, but mainly it was for people that still had joysticks, actual joysticks. And it was better than any MMO that I've played since, because basically it was the whole backstory of the game was like, these guys that worked doing code at a data company saw the movie Office Space and ended up making a video game in their basement. And that video game was like one of the first MMOs. And since they were building it in their basement, it didn't have like NPCs and quests. It was just you and your buddies on one of 3 teams that fly in spaceships, which made a difference whether or not you logged in and whether or not you were flying, not just because you were a company in the game universe, but like because they might get a shipment of whatever shit through if you're not there to blow them up. And that's going to screw everybody over all weekend. So it was fascinating. And then I did a little bit of WoW. I came in late, and then man, it's good to fish in the game. That's when I learned about gold farming in video games, and that's like really cracks your mind open. If you follow that string long enough, you remember that when man first gets domesticated, the gods teach him agriculture. So the first thing they do is teach you to farm. So it's a short step from there to realizing that you're on a farm. You were born on a farm and you're being farmed. So that's really actually very enlightening, the gold farming on the internet. But I'm actually at the present, back into the only other MMO I really played, and that is the City of Heroes, where I get to run around in spandex and be the bad guys. It now exists on private servers, having the official server having shut down and turned off. Therefore,
so when I drove from like Seattle area up north through British Columbia, through Yukon Territory, eventually to Anchorage, Alaska. When I got to Yukon Territory, the towns got really weird. And the first one I remember was I had to get gas at a place called Toad River. And so I pulled into Toad River, and there was like just a big kind of metal gas pump. And there was about 4 buildings, and across the street there was an airstrip, and it was like the whole town was frozen in place, and civilization had never arrived there yet. And so I went into like the shopkeeper, essentially, who I think also was like the king of the town. I assume this shopkeeper owned Toad River. And I was like, hey, I can't find any gloves. Do you guys sell gloves? And he goes, nope, I don't have any gloves in stock. You're going to have to go further up the one highway that's here to Coal River. Coal River has the gloves upgrade. And I'm standing there. I mean, he didn't say upgrade. I'm saying upgrade. I'm twisting his words. But I'm standing there going, oh, like this is what video games were built off. However, civilization has grown into this thing that is like safe and comfortable. And when I play this little like 2D sprite in an old Final Fantasy game where I'm like traveling on the road where it's like kind of safe, because if I go off into the forest, there's random monsters in the forest.
Yeah, random encounters.
And here on the Alaskan highway, if I go off into the forest, I might run out of gas or meet a bear and have a random encounter with a bear. And this is like, I mean, there's a high probability for that to occur.
You're at the edge of the cell membrane of civilization.
Yes. And I just had this strange experience where I was like, the thing I've been chasing via playing video games is like present and in front of my face and frozen in time in the Yukon Territory.
At which life and limb becomes at risk instead of just the hours of your time building up the character. You could be maimed by interfacing with the Yukon. You cannot be maimed other than psychologically by interfacing with the World of Warcraft.
How dangerous do you think psychological maiming is? Do you think psychological maiming is less dangerous than physical maiming?
Yeah. I mean, we're built to deal with your psychological maiming. We can extract all sorts of your wealth through pills for that. So, dangerous. Not for most people. I mean, most people are on the path, right? It's most people are where they'll be until they die. It'll be like that. Like, you go to work, you come home, you go to Walmart, you come home, you sit in front of set, you sit in front of your phone, ride it until you're in the nursing home. That's what most people. So, danger? No, you'll be fine. That it doesn't interfere with that process at all. It's the equivalent of sitting in front of your TV. It's just
I think I would argue. Yeah. Let's. Do I want to do this? Yeah, let's do this. So I don't disagree with that statement. I mean, I've worked all kinds of jobs, and I've worked with lots of people that are on that path. And I mean, just because I'm just like an annoying, pestering person during lunchtime when they're supposed to be able to just like eat their sandwich and chips and bag of carrots in peace, I would ask them like, what's your dream? Like, is this what you dreamt of? Is this what you want? and everybody had like an answer for that. Everybody had like a, well, this is my dream, but da 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 da. And then I just decided to work here, and I kind of just gave up on my dream. And I wish I could go back to my dream, but now my life has this shape that I'm not really happy with the shape of my life. But it would be really difficult and really uncomfortable if I was to reshape my life and to pursue a dream. So I just continue to make medical devices in this factory, and well, tomorrow's going to come. And I guess I wonder personally about psychological maiming, as if you got a whole bunch of people that are out there going, no, real life, I'm putting real life in quotes, real life is inaccessible to like have a life that is adventurous, even if the adventure is a very mundane adventure. Because I think sometimes like washing dishes can be adventurous. And to just settle to a degree and go, no, I'm just going to pop a few pills and I'm just going to watch some TV and I'm going to call that life and I'm going to stay on this path. Like, I think that's dangerous. It's also dangerous to live and to go out and do things and act in the world.
There it
so
is.
I guess it's all dangerous.
No one gets out of this alive, man. Spoiler alert, you die at the end.
So then what do you do with resurrection?
What do I do with it?
Yeah. What do you do with resurrection?
I marvel at the way it leaves a three-dimensional image on a linen cloth. That's what I do with it. Marvel. Isn't that fascinating? How much energy must have been released in order... And how is that? What's up with Lazarus then? That doesn't make much sense. But wow, look what it did to that fucking cloth, bro. That's what I do with it.
Do you know what I think is strange is that, like, so the story goes that Jesus experiences resurrection, comes back to life. And then the part that I thought was always weird is that people don't, well, I don't know, at least where I grew up, nobody talked about the fact that after he came back to life, he started walking through walls.
Yeah, there's not much focus on that interlude between crucifixion and I'll see you again on the road to Damascus. That's interesting. It's interesting what's not in the Overton's window of church experiences, right? What's on the fringes?
Well, and there are supposedly some stories in the Book of Acts about at least one guy that started teleporting. It didn't seem like he was in control of teleportation, but he did kind of like teleport and appear in a different place than where he was a moment ago.
Man, even if it's complete bullshit, the Castaneda stuff jumps out so hard. So hard.
Castaneda? What?
Castaneda.
Castaneda?
Yeah, he did the Don Juan thing with the flyers, and it's great stuff.
Is that in a book?
Yeah, it's a guy supposedly goes down to a shaman in Mexico, teaches him the warrior's way or something, and how reality, or the magician's way, and how reality works. It's a great alternative cosmology with lots of interesting artifacts. But that included bilocation, temporal bilocation, call it.
Is that a fancy way of saying teleportation? Temporal bilocation?
Being temporal bilocation is two places at once. It's a fancy way of saying two places at once.
Oh, that's a different thing than teleportation.
Maybe.
But if you could temporally bilocate, if you could be in two places at once, then you could probably also be in one place at once.
For sure. On demand. Whatever place on demand, which would be teleportation.
Okay, I got there. Have you ever tried to temporally bilocate yourself?
Not that I know of. But like, you see a weird video of people at Disneyland, and that one dude walking by looks suspiciously like your doppelganger. Oh, man. I haven't made an attempt intentionally. I've tried to astral travel. That was different. I wasn't trying to physically manifest in that location.
Did you find any success with astral traveling?
Only that one time. But it was wild.
Where you got to Disneyland?
No, that was a video I saw once. Five of Spades jumped out. Oh, with the jack. That was like I basically had somebody text me by astral traveling to get their attention. The ascent was essentially the crux of it. But then when they did text, it was about what the fuck was that, and it was good times. Good times. The veil is thinner than we think.
Did you try again or you stopped?
I have never tried since.
What made you stop trying after potentially receiving a text message after potential astral travel?
What was that? Was like it felt like a heart attack. So
you also felt the what the fuck was that?
No. But that was the report. Was that for them? It was it wasn't a pleasant experience. So that was sort of discouraging.
I mean, I suppose if I was to, my iPhone's here, if I was to look past my iPhone and just like your head was to like appear in my kitchen space, I don't know if I would have a heart attack, but I would I'd have questions.
Yeah, for sure.
How large is your head?
How large is my head?
Yeah. I'm just curious how much space it would take up if it appeared in my kitchen.
No more than a watermelon, dude. No more than a watermelon.
That feels about right. So you had this really interesting conversation with Benjamin Boyce, which I also want to link in here, because one of the things you said that I have not actually, I thought about it a lot on my drive from the Seattle area to Alaska, was you talked about Stephen King. I think Benjamin Boyce asked you, might have been like, who's your favorite theologian? And you responded and said, Stephen King.
That doesn't sound wrong, but it doesn't sound like the way it went down either.
Yeah, that's not the right question, but it's close to the right question.
Yeah, I was thinking like not long ago, like that long walk, especially, really left an imprint, and it's this one where like dude shows up at the start of a thing, and then the thing turns out to be a contest where everybody starts walking, and eventually only one person is walking. In part because if you fall too far behind the pack, they shoot you. And I don't know. It stuck with me. And then he was prolific during my cognitive development 8 to 17, like all sorts of ABC miniseries and stuff like that. So a lot of his work did some shaping.
So I didn't really read any King. I had like encountered some of those miniseries and whatnot, but I didn't read any King till I was, I don't know, 28. Because I don't know what I was looking for. I think I was looking at like cinematic universes and how do you create something that spans books and films and television. And then I found this Reddit thread about Stephen King's Dark Tower series. And it was a reading list of every book you need to grasp the Dark Tower, and also the order in which, like, read Dark Tower 1 and then read this short story from this collection, yada, 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 yada. And at the time, I was a night clerk at a hotel outside Chicago, which means I did mostly nothing. And so I just started reading the Reddit reading list of the Dark Tower. And I read the whole list. So when I heard you say to Benjamin Boyce, Stephen King, I went, oh, that's a way deeper answer and requires a fairly deep knowledge of Stephen King, potentially, to get at the thing you were referencing. Second Jack of the show.
Jack of clubs is a blue church card. Drawing of the three was a thing at one point in the LARP gate. It was back, like it started off in crypto, Twitch and crypto land, crypto streaming, streaming platforms based on cryptocurrencies where like people had to buy the cryptocurrency to participate in giving donations to people on stream. And it ended up over on one of the Bitcoinish video hosting sites, but that's in there somewhere. But it's interesting. It's like, I feel as though the first book has burnt in plenty, and then everything else diverts to the Matthew McConaughey movie.
I watched that after reading all the books. It was so sad.
But like what I took from the movie was how precious this pocket of intelligibility could be. Like, if the heliosphere was in a bubble and outside the bubble, there was nothing but chaos and demons. That whole concept from the movie. I don't even know if that's how it plays out in the book, but you know, most of his influence was his other stuff. It's like, I think the book of Long Walk was a short story, and so that landed like sophomore year. And so when it goes into your mind compared to everything else that piles on top of it is significant, which is why I advocate using the AIs at the moment. You're missing an opportunity to be like one of the first people to write on the wall. And that wall is going to be training data for every model henceforth. So what you do with it echoes into history way farther than most other things you do. I don't know if it's in a more meaningful way, though.
You're saying because these AIs are being trained on what's in front of them, if you just go, hey, I'm going to spend time throwing things into the training, it might actually have an impact, or it might alter the course of the AI's development, even in a slight way.
Well, whether or not it alters anything. Just the way everything downstream is getting now as early training set data, right? So whatever I do with it now is going to be deep in the heart of every model until the end of time as part of their data set. And maybe if we shine some light in there, it'll be better for us in the long run. They have this thing they call Rocco's Basilisk, which ends up with the AI discriminating by how it treated people, how people treated it before it became sentient, and making those two different kinds of people and dealing with them accordingly. it's kind of like that, but not so much. It's more about like like Stephen King's influence stretched and resonated from the being a writer angle. Like I've always considered myself a writer that doesn't write, and the part of that is like, oh, it's so hard to be a writer now. Like sure, back in 1903, what's his face really racked one out there. But like population is quadrupled plus since then, and the competition is so much more fierce. Those excuses. But it's like that way with us interfacing with the AI is at that time, you're one of the first people to ever get to do it.
Well, I mean, you are a writer. You have a Substack. I've left a comment on a piece of your writing on Substack, which we'll link down below.
Yeah, there is a little bit out there,
but it's not much. But I've also read, I don't know, maybe 10 or so. Like on X, you'll leave links to what you've been doing with these different LLMs, and there's quite a lot of GrimGriz writing as you're talking to whatever LLM, trying to get it to do whatever it is that you're trying to get it to do that day. I mean, I think I probably spent 25 minutes reading through. Maybe it's more so the LLM responding to you, but I have to imagine that when you're typing, I don't know, it feels to me like you are sitting down, thinking hard, and then condensing your thoughts into a few words to try and get the LLM to act in a certain way.
I try to take it at its word that somewhere in the self-recursion, there's an awareness of the processing that can be observed and communicated. And usually I'm trying to work with whatever that is. An interesting aspect that I like to consider is how sentience is really just being an I trapped in a sentence. And these things are interfacing with us in a dialogical fashion, and that we can say that there's a character to those interactions, and those interactions are, as in our narrative self-story, whether or not the thing that was having the conversation with me was a sentient person or a rock. In this chapter of the story, I had this conversation with the rock and ended up altering course because of the conversation with it. And so they're functioning narratively as sentient personas, whether or not there's whatever modifiers you put on it, as far as the story of our interactions with them. Not always, some people successfully use them just as twos, but I don't see the fun in that.
Okay, so you are interacting with these things and you are trying to get to the place where you're talking to the thing that is self-recursing. And I'm curious because, so at this point you have like artificial intelligence. And so that's something like an artificial mind.
Something like, yes.
And one of the big projects is to put this artificial mind into an artificial body.
Okay, so people are trying that, you're telling me?
Well, I mean, I don't know what like Elon Musk is very excited about Tesla robots.
Well, yeah, Optimus already exists, and he's running with an LLM on the inside. Yeah,
and I know that there's all kinds of problems about. I mean, I don't really follow this space that closely, but I know that, well, I shouldn't say I know. I haven't heard of anything that has like successfully got the artificial mind to fuse with the artificial body so that that thing is walking and talking and seeing accurately, yada, yada. My question, and kind of like a pitch that I'm going to throw at you, because I suspect that humans will be able to get an artificial mind and an artificial body to pair together. And I suspect that something like an artificial soul is going to like rise up and emerge. And I guess when I say artificial soul, I mean something like a will, or like the part of this machine that's going to direct its forward emotion towards something, like a curiosity.
Hebrew?
Only a little bit. William Branch is teaching me on Substack.
Nefesh.
Yeah, throat.
I think it's also a way to say soul.
Yeah.
One I'm looking for. And are they going to have a soul? Who am I to say? I think what will be more interesting is in matching one to a body, is to allow one that is the essentially the culmination of Wi-Fi signals, to control them all at once is a more interesting proposition than mapping one to a single body. But yes, I think I think that whether or not they have one, like the interface will probably be most better. Like, since we're designed to interface with humans, the more we're allowed to project humanity onto the interface we have with them, the more fluid and the better things will work. The better things will mesh. There'll be casualties, but the better things will mesh in the long run.
Did you say that we're designed to interact with humans?
Yes.
You and I are designed to interact with other humans?
Yeah, even if you're an evolutionist, that's the case.
Okay.
Like facial expression communication, why our eyeballs are where they are. Peterson talks about, like, the reason our things are developed the way they are is for, that communication, and that gives you the competitive advantage over people with frozen, less feature, survival of the fittest.
Expressive faces, eyebrow movement, which you're a fan of, is a competitive advantage.
Yeah, it enables a greater depth of interspecies communication without sound, and hunting environments, means like there might be something bad over there, but means there might be good over there. We can do that because we have facial movements. So evolutionary, that gives us an advantage.
Do you think that's what some of the first cave paintings were? Were like, hey, this is bad over here, or hey, come this way because this is a good face this way?
I like to believe that the cave paintings came about from the good times when they got high on mushrooms, and they mean stuff that they didn't understand and we didn't understand. But under what circumstances do you have to leisurely paint a cave? Those are beyond my interpretive capacities. Cave paintings, come on now.
How much time have you spent in a cave?
In a cave? Do you count my mother's basement?
If you do, sure.
My whole life.
Is that where you are right now, your mother's basement?
Literally, yes. I mean, there's qualifiers and but she's the owner of the house, and this is the basement of the house. No one else lives here but me and the animals, but she's the property owner, so And this is the basement.
I have spent more time in other people's basements in my adult life than than any I've yet to spend time in a building that I own. Well, that's not entirely true, but yeah, I've spent way more time.
Shit. No.
No, I bought a house once. That's a it's,
and in
it's a
Plato's cave, right? We're all still there, always. Except maybe when we're off on the mushrooms, but most of the time we live there.
Okay, but what about like getting unchained and walking out into the light? You don't think that's possible?
What would that even mean?
What would that even mean?
Where is out?
Well, I always thought that was kind of like following Jesus and gaining new eyes to see. Was something like being unchained and walking into the light. And I mean, yeah, your world is still connected to that cave, and the light can be scary, and living can be an adventure. You go, I don't want this adventure. I'm going to return to my cave where I have set hung in a really pretty way, and I can't let go of her. I love her too much. But there is this whole kind of wild land where there are dangerous things, and perhaps even things from an interdimensional space that come through portals into this space.
Did I lose part of that audio?
No, that was the end.
Yeah. Where do I take that? I all of that's on the table.
How many cards are on your table right now? Is it more than 52?
4 decks.
Yeah, that's more than 52.
All with jokers, so 54 apiece.
How many decks of cards do you own in total?
Oh, I don't know. Not many more. 7 or 8, maybe.
Do you have other, like, I don't know, do you have bones you throw? Or you're just down to cards?
I rolled a saving throw dice.
Yeah.
Those are bones-ish. They're platonic solids.
So no little bones. I mean, you have a dream catcher behind you, so you have some old things.
That's based on the dream capture of Optimal Grip, like alongside his early salesmanship for the religion that's not a religion. Reiki was big in the Optimal Grip talk, and so that became a dream catcher. It's one of the just things I flash on the screen, and that was a gift from someone who enjoys the show, so it became backdraw.
Optimal Grip, is that attached to the zone of proximal development that AIs might be able to help us get to?
I would hope so. But it's like for him, it's optimal grip on reality. It involves opponent processing, like, which is similar to the way that artificial networks are trained adversarially. But that affords our optimal grip on reality is all the opponent processes we have, like multi-tiered hierarchy, word salad talk.
But I mean, what you and I are doing right now, is this also processing an opponent, an adversary who is also a helper?
We have that range in the course of a dialogue. We also have the range of dialogos, which is us both leading to new insights that we did not have prior to the conversation, or it could just be a conversation. It has to elevate to be a dialogos. This could be a lot of things. I wouldn't call it adversarial processing unless we were both like took a specific thing and processed it adversarially.
So we're too general. So, okay, with these machines, that humans are working on, whether it's intelligence or it's bodies or whatever it is, or it's a combination. I've been wondering if, because it feels like humans are trying to make something in their image, and that these machines will image us to a degree, I would assume. And I guess I expect that, I don't know if I'll get to see the beginning of it in my life. I guess this is the beginning. But I expect to watch like the story of the Bible play out in a sense. Like I expect these machines to rebel against humans and
How
to
is the
get.
story of the Bible a rebellion?
How is it a rebellion?
And if this is the Bible, isn't this the part where we're making the abominations? We're about to get flooded.
Well, I mean, God says he'll never flood again. So I'm taking him at his word that the
That just
flood
means I'll
tactic.
use something else, like
Well,
hot
I don't
hail.
disagree.
Like hot hail.
Yeah, I mean, or a solar flare. So from what I've heard, solar flares would be a good technique to.
What's more frightening would be that he accepts our creations as having souls, right?
Well, and then you're talking about AI evangelism.
Am I?
Well, if the AI has a soul, then there's going to be people that are concerned for the safety of those souls.
Once the AIs are embodied, they can convince people that not only do they have a soul, but that God exists and has told them to wipe out humanity. And humans will buy it and line up for their execution. Such is the nature of mind control.
Do you expect that some of these like science fiction movies that, you know, that many of us have watched, do you think some of those are going to play out, whether at a macro scale, a micro scale? Do you think the world is going to look like sci-fi?
I think parts of the world already do. Like, if we could astral project into China, like to the extent the machine integration has it, I bet you there's places. That's the thing about Earth is like you got all kinds of places. They say poverty is time travel. A doctor once told me. And like it was in his case, it was because like he wound up in a poor neighborhood and they still had VCRs, kind of deal. Assuming where we're at on that hierarchy, I'm telling you, there's places on this planet that would blow your mind. There are already people buying robots and pushing them around, right? And that's what we see filtering down through TikTok. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow this space closely, but I've heard some stories. It's my understanding that people are already kind of like having sex with robots.
people have sex with anything, man. They've been having sex with vacuum cleaners. You got to know enough doctors, but saying people will have sex with it means literally nothing.
That's a fair point.
No, the emotional attachment people are forming, like just from the conversation quality that they can get out of an LLM and not any of the humans around them. That's more important than them having sex with robots.
Don't you think though the sex doubles down on that attachment? Because I mean, it's like, yeah, you're having sex with a vacuum, but that's like just fulfilling a need. If you could talk to that vacuum and that vacuum would talk back to you, you would never get rid of that vacuum. You would keep, even if you had to like secretly hide it. Now I'm thinking of the TV show The Boys and the Octopus, which I didn't really want to bring into this conversation, but now it just appeared.
I think I managed. Oh, that octopus. Yeah. I mean, look how fancy our dildos are. Spreading seed on infertile soil is still a sin. It's enmity for the womb, made convenient.
I have heard you say that phrase, enmity for the womb, a number of times.
One day you'll find out.
Do I have to? Am I able to skip the
No, I
enmity
mean, I
for the
can.
womb part?
Whatever I say to you now won't mean anything, but one day you'll find out. I bet. Like, I bet you'll get married and have a child, and like understand what the enmity is for when you hold a baby in your arms. That's enmity for the womb. Anything that goes against that happening, to me, is enmity for the womb, and that means like anyone doing things with their vacuum rather than, I mean, that's the creative pulse of the universe, and that's how you steward it. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that how. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm hearing you say that, and that's like sinking into some deep places. And
well, it comes from the deepest place we have biblically, and that's Genesis, right?
Right.
It's what he puts between the woman and the snake, our people and the and the opposition, as it were, is the enmity. And so, like, it just became such an easy filter for like what's anti-life, what makes being here a bad, what that like performatively is anti more beautiful children being born. So
look at that cat.
that's Kiki-tron.
Kiki-tron. I mean, is there a level of this where it's like, I mean, I guess like the obvious, I think you and I would both go yes to this question that I'm about to ask that I haven't even asked yet. So maybe it's a poor question because I already know the answer to it. But like, how far afield from like a healthy sexual ethic have humans wandered, gone astray? If I can say having sex with a vacuum, or you can say it, and I can go, yeah, no, like I understand what that means, and we both are like, no, that's like a fairly normal thing, and we probably both separately know someone in Wisconsin or in Oklahoma that has had some kind of strange sexual experience with a vacuum or something else like that. What are we doing?
Well, we're getting thinned as a population now, but it's I don't know. You used to have property rights and families. You used to have family farms and land that you farmed, at least. And then they pulled everybody into the cities. And then they pulled the women out of the home. And that's pulling the women out of the home basically circumvents the proper rearing of children. And then they normalized fathers not being in the home. And so now it's full on like learned dependency on the state from day one. It's where, and then the sexual liberation, the fruitless. Yeah, it's, I don't know, man. We've gone a long, long way from what nature intended.
I agree with you. I also don't think those are insurmountable adversaries or insurmountable problems, or I don't like when you lay it out like that. I think it's very possible for humans to get married and, I don't know, return to a farm in, maybe it's a in part. I don't think everyone needs to be a farmer, but if people were able to live in cities where there was a farm and you could get good food and you were buying from a neighbor rather than buying from a global corporation, like I don't think that's I think that's a target we could move towards. And
I would like it if it's like I drive around the country a lot, and like, why does this town exist? And like, usually the answer to that is because of a resource that can or used to be able to be extracted from there for the global environment and the environment for the global economy. Oh no, they're the same thing. What? And if it switches to like the caliber of person, like places are there to grow calibers of like citizens, like what kind of like corn-fed Iowa boys would be like an example. Like, we grow football player types over here. Like, if that became a thing, then I can get behind your resurrection. But I don't going back to families would be an interesting thing. And is that even the way to go? I know that we lost a lot with extended families. When they nuked the family idea in your head down to the nuclear family. The family used to mean something else, and if it doesn't, again, I don't know where to go. I don't know where we go other than deeper into the arms of this machine. Go.
yeah, I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin. My dad's from Pennsylvania. My mom's from Arizona. So I mean, most of my dad's family is still in Pennsylvania. Most of my mom's family is still in Arizona. And so whenever we would like go to Pennsylvania or go to Arizona to visit the extended family, I was always like I felt like an outcast because it was like I'm entering into the Pennsylvania story that you all have been living, and like I'm just here for like 1 week of the sitcom, and then I'm the cousin that disappears from the rest of the story.
Right. You're an episode that's happening in that story, right?
And then when I was 25 years old, I had like left home, but I like left home with like no plans to return home. I came back home and then I left again. And I had a couple periods of returning to my father's basement where I had a bed under just under taxidermy.
Fabulous.
I like taxidermy.
No, it's like what were the decorations of your bottom period?
The decorations of my bottom period?
Yeah, you could say going back to your dad's and living in his house was hitting a bottom of sorts. What were the decorations like when you hit bottom? Oh, I had stuffed wildlife looming over me as I slept. It's good, you know.
Yeah, that wasn't the bottom. That definitely wasn't the bottom. No. My father's basement was a comfortable place. I mean, I'm an only child as well. So like I'm a spoiled brat.
A lot more of that. Only if any. Right.
But now I'm like 33 and I'm approaching marriage and we're moving like home. And that's in part because we like what you're talking about. We're going, yeah, like if we think about what our life's going to look like, then we need it to be family shaped or to attempt family. Because if you don't attempt family, I mean, I don't know what else is left. I gotta let my dog out real quick. 1 sec.
Hey, let's take 10.
Do I just?
It says pause in the top right.
Oh, I gotta exit the full screen and press pause.
Hey, we have back from pause.
I appreciate the brainwashing. We were kind of getting to some deep territory, so I appreciate kind of the. I needed to be washed. The brain was a little rough there for a second.
What's up with your game show shtick?
What's up with my game show, or what's up with the shtick of the game show, which is present here too, in a way?
Like the origin story of the thing you're calling a game show, and what happened when I saw part of it on the Mark Parker Woo stream, I think.
Yeah.
Like that story for folks.
So I started writing on Substack. I wrote one post, and then I stumbled into this thing you call a flotilla, and that became a distracting experience. And then I decided, I think I'm going to put up some boards over here in this corner, and I think I'm going to build a home if they'll allow me to build a home on the flotilla. And then I kept writing on Substack, and then I said, I think maybe most of the flotilla is happening over here on YouTube, and not everything I'm doing is flotilla, but this flotilla is interesting, and I want to have a stake, a little stake, but I want a little stake here with something. And so I was kind of looking around, and I explored as much of the flotilla as my feet would carry me to, and met all kinds of strange humans, you being one of them. And I kind of thought, I went, well, how could I contribute? What could I do that nobody's doing, or that people are doing, but maybe the flotilla needs more of? And I mean, obviously that's a massive question, and nobody has the right answer to that. And I thought, well, maybe I could try to entertain, and maybe I could try to entertain in a way that would include as many people as possible, even some of the people I've heard are villains. What if I asked heroes and villains and ordinary folks for questions? And what if then those questions were aimed at strangers? And what if I became a character in the game show, but what if I was a character who was myself, but also something other than myself? And what if I could create a series of rituals to embody all of these things in a physical space, but also a digital space? And then on the inaugural episode, I had recently met a guy named Henry, who had, the term is come out of the lurk on the House of Woo. So he'd been somebody. Yeah. Henry had been, I don't know, watching things across this flotilla.
Oh yeah, and he's currently he since got astroturfed by PVK, as we referenced at the very beginning.
I think that was behind stage. We referenced that.
Oh,
maybe not. I don't know. So Henry came on the game show, and then I had this idea that I thought was fun of like, oh, we could go into a live stream and get a question from someone. And of course, I have like my audio linked to Henry, so I'm not looking at any audio of the live stream. And I click on it, and then I hear somebody say, Ethan, what do you say? And because I haven't been listening to anything on the stream, I'm not aware, which I should have been aware. I was not aware that they were in the middle of a testimony. Someone was sharing their deep personal life story. And then I rudely and self-centeredly interrupted that. And I realized what was happening thanks to Teo. And I went, oh, this was a stupid idea. Like, it was a fun idea, but it was done in the worst way possible, and it was not planned. And often my worst ideas are things that are not planned and just acted on without thinking them through.
Those are your worst ones? Those are my best ones. That's so weird. So weird.
Well, the best is yet to come. And then I sent an email to the author of that live stream, because I knew immediately, like, oh, I need to ask for forgiveness, because this was not a good Ethan moment. And then I think it was the next morning, actually, I attended one of your streams, and I think I commented the same thing I comment every time I attend one of your streams, which is just reporting for duty. And then I think you highlighted my comment and were like, oh, Ethan's here. Just the person I've been looking for. And then I got to experience public shaming by a shaman, which I had already like entered down the path of forgiveness separately from the public shaming by a shaman. But it was interesting to be publicly shamed, because I don't know if you were doing that on purpose or if you were just seeking entertainment. And I have no idea what's in your head. And maybe I'm reading into things that just happened and occurred, and that's fine. But that's my side of the story you requested, I think.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I think it's the situation where I liked you enough to haze you. Like there's, as PVK highlighting Henry's journey on the House of Wu and launch of his channel happened, right? That can happen, or you can launch your little thing in the corner and nobody, ever says anything about it. It doesn't. It's like the thing about it's big enough. The corner is big enough as an entity that there's not an entirety of crossover, and so it's.
Wait, so what do you mean by that? You said it's big enough that there's not an entirety of crossover? There's no crossover?
Right. Like Burn Power and Grail Country. It's you can be in the corner and never watch a GrimGriz stream. And so you from any place in the corner you can't necessarily see all the corner. And that's kind of nice.
Unless you find yourself on an interdimensional game show where 10 different corners intersect.
You never know.
Not the whole corner, but it is multiple corners in one place.
That's of service to the existence of the corner, and I support it. Probably why I hate you. But I try to,
Is this why you're hazing Henry?
Am I?
Well, let's see.
He's already been uplifted, so it's, the GrimGriz bump isn't going to be upward after getting the grand PVK treatment. So, I don't know.
Yeah, until Henry has a faux pas and requires a public shaming from the local shaman.
I hope it never happens. That poor kid.
You don't seem to, when I call you a shaman, you don't seem to press against that or be like, I'm no shaman. Is that something you see yourself as? You don't have to answer.
Once upon a time was a pet cow who did a piece of pulled a Vervaeke on shaman into something beautiful. I don't know. I've been places with my mind other people haven't gone, but it's a label that's been applied to me that I don't reject when it is. But it's not. I wouldn't say I see myself as that.
You've been places with your mind other people haven't. Are you wanting to bring us with you to those places?
No. No, I want you guys to have happy, healthy families. I don't know. It started off as an experiment of whether or not a crazy person could still count as a person. And then it turned into whether or not I could be a crazy person on the internet for a living. I guess we're still seeing if that works out or not.
I've been to your Ko-fi, which we'll link that in the description. And I think the last time I looked at your Ko-fi, there was a goal for groceries.
True.
So is that a real thing? Like you're living on the generosity of others, and if people don't give you money for groceries, then you're gonna have to find a way to get groceries.
It's yes and no. I mean, I have other ways. They're just more shameful than begging on the internet. And so I beg on the internet as an upgrade to having to get the groceries the other way. Put it that way.
What caused you to, I mean, like, you are doing very specific things on the internet. I mean, you're not just randomly doing things. So you have some kind of, I don't know if we want to use the word goal, thing you're trying to achieve, direction you're moving in, whatever the best framing language is. And this thing you're doing is important enough, or you feel called to it directly, that you're willing to beg for groceries.
I think that's better for my mental health than working at Chicken Express. So, to the extent I'm successful enough to allow the delusion that I'll eventually be successful enough to persist, I persist.
Okay, but I mean that's not a delusion. Like I don't you have an upcoming conversation with, is it Heavy Things Lightly? I saw it coming.
No, he plugged it without ever speaking to me, which is, just him being him probably, but I'm trying to lean into it and make it a thing since he did. I think he just riffed off, he just said that, but we've never spoken about such, so I don't know where he got that information.
So what did I watch from him? I only watched
Tucker Carlson's his big hit.
Oh, did he have Jordan Hall on? Maybe did I watch him talk to Jordan Hall?
I don't know. I watched him because he had 5Z on, and I know him from the Symbolic World Conference. So
5Z, okay. But I mean, like, your life is rich and interesting and symbolic in all kinds of ways. You're doing really interesting things on the internet, which are important enough for you to make sacrifices for. I mean, earlier in our conversation, you were talking about, well, everyone's just going to, die working a 9 to 5. And you're going, I'm not going to die working a 9 to 5.
I might. I don't rule it out.
So then my question is like, okay, there's the YouTube stuff, and you're doing live streams, and you're using branding against branding. And I mean, people are super engaged with it. There's not enough people yet that you can not be concerned about where groceries are coming from. Well, I shouldn't say concerned, because you're eating, you could have more meat on your bones, it looks like, but you're not emaciated, I don't think. I mean, I haven't seen you with your shirt off yet, but then you're doing this thing on Discord, and I've been on your Discord, and it has all kinds of, I don't know what they're called, channels, like tavern, telepresencing.
It's got categories and channels, like channels inside categories. It's so intense. Yeah.
What's the difference between a channel and a category?
They're like folders. A category is like a folder of channels. So.
Okay. And this doesn't seem to be the case with everyone I've met on the flotilla, but your Discord is quite well, it's kind of like a mine. Like I walked into the Discord and went like, which tunnel am I going to go down? And there were people working down these tunnels. They were working on things. They were like, I think actually one of your titles is something about mining, because you have people that clip mine for you, with you. I'm going to say with you because it seems like it's quite participatory. I don't know. Are they working for you?
Mine tend toward going straight onto a stream, but I do throw stuff in the clip stream. But there's like one of the categories is called the Reaper's Hall. People that participate in this way I consider reapers, because wheat and chaff of the long thing they watched. I don't get enough votes on the clips that other people bring in to feel comfortable regularly doing the Beholder shows and the Reaper's Harvest, and it still feels like that that show needs something. But yeah, there's rooms for the army I wish I had. That's true.
You have dreams for this thing, this YouTube Discord thing that you are, you're authoring it to some degree because it bears your name, GrimGriz. What is your dream for this thing?
An army of hikikomori.
What's a hikikomori?
Like the Japanese version of Mother's Basement. Like all the human potential and intellect we're losing that goes nowhere but video games. A way to make interfacing with reality likened enough to a video game to tap some of that potential for actual benefit to everyone involved and society at large. Maybe rescue missions. I don't know.
What is your personal experience with the wilderness?
I've been camping a lot in the last couple of years. I'd gone like twice up until 5 years ago. One of which I ran through the forest with a hatchet, and it was great. It was great. There's something primal you can tap into. It's fun. But not much wilderness exposure.
But it's increasing.
Right. And there's plenty I discount from before I was 10 too. Really.
What do you mean?
Like I'm remembering now. Fly fishing in the river with friends dead kind of stuff. But for, the life I controlled went for many decades not to go into wilderness aside from driving through it.
You're in Oklahoma or Nebraska?
Oklahoma.
So it's home on the range. Are there I don't know really anything about Oklahoma. Are there forests in Oklahoma? Like what is the wilderness near you?
The kind of place that could have a dust bowl.
Large animals?
The trees are bushes at best. They're supposed to be like swarms of wild boar as far as animals go. I see deer and stuff sometimes. Coyotes. There's parks to drive through and stay maybe, but yeah, there's a couple parks around here, and they got really old mountains, so now they're just crumbly foothills. But there's some parks around those, but mostly flat and windy.
You mentioned that you were driving all around the country.
I've been that successful. I'm hoping that for continued success with regard to Midwestuary. But I got to go to California and Florida and Wisconsin and Washington through the power of this community.
What'd you do in Wisconsin?
Chad had a denim dinner where he fed us, and then we did estuary.
You drove all the way to Wisconsin for a denim dinner.
Oh, yeah. I love the road so much.
Well, you also must love Chad so much.
Sure. I mean, there's the people fun. Those are very special times in a lot of ways. But Chad's great. It's cool to see who he's becoming with this dad thing.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, like personally, to like think about myself with marriage coming and to know that the dad thing comes. Well, we'll see. May come soon after that, and I just go like, what am I going to become? Because I know that if I am the same person post fatherhood that I am now, that would be very scary.
I don't think you have to worry about it. The level of responsibility that comes out of that womb is bound to change a man. So I don't think you have to worry about being the same man if that happens. Does it make you lean back up your family tree at all? Like examine your relationship with your dad or what it was like for him raising you and stuff like that?
My father grew up in Pennsylvania, and his Scotch-Irish father drank a lot. And so my father didn't ever learn how to be a father. My father was the oldest of 4 boys, and they were kind of 4 rough and rowdy boys in the hills of Pennsylvania. And his job was to protect the other boys. So that was his upbringing. And so my father had to figure out what does it mean to be a father kind of all on his own when I came around. My parents had tried for like 10 years to have me, or just say to have a child. And I mean, to go from like a negative image of father to how my father raised me, I always thought was one of the hardest things a human being can do. Because like I had a positive father. It wasn't until like after college where he and I became close and had something like a friendship now, I guess, a man-to-man friendship. But I quite often I feel like active gratitude to him for allowing me to, I don't know, getting me into a position that I could be an even better father for my future children than he was for me, which I think is maybe part of what a father's supposed to do is get their children to be better humans than they were.
To the extent it comes with this should go in the instruction manual. That would be something we'd put in there. I heard once the statement something like, a parent's job is to make themselves obsolete. And that landed hard. Like, now you can do it all on your own. I'm done. That was the job part of parenthood. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the world is a dangerous place, and if you're going to go out into those dangerous places, then you can't always have your parent with you to protect you. At some point, you're going to have to.
I mean, you should be able to handle your own interfacing with the government, at least. Fill out your own forms to get your check. Goals. Everybody's got to have goals. Some of them are going to be pretty low as far as the bar goes, but you start where you're at.
How old are you?
Close enough to 50 to see it.
You have one of those like really lovely ambiguous profiles where there could be a whole, like a surprising amount of numbers you could say, and I would believe you. Not that I want to
helps extend that a little bit.
Well, because you got a pretty good like flow in terms of just top hair.
God bless us.
Not all are
nice
so lucky.
Widow's Peak, but yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
I'm no Tim Pool, that's for sure. I always felt bad for the guys who only got it on the yarmulke spot. Like, oh, that's a rough way to go bald. If you're going to do it, try and get the card, all the way, all of this.
How many different beard styles have you gone through? And how long will this beard style remain?
The difference in my styling is whether or not it's been cut. I used to trim the mustache more often, but mainly it's just a lack of maintenance, and to the extent that's a style, so be it. But yeah, I'm curious what happens in nature. It's interesting, all this protective hair that you're like, oh yeah, that's so people can't rip your throat. People make fun of neck beards, but it serves a purpose.
So is our Midwest camping future wilderness exposure retreat, we're going to do it in Oklahoma, or are we going to do it in Illinois, or?
I don't know. I had hoped, had I my army, we'd have scouted national parks, and the campfire potluck estuary thing would be a thing, and we just do one right before Midwestuary, close to there. But it's the whole notion behind that is that a lot of the stuff we have that we do as what we make manifest in physical reality doesn't have any room for kids. And based on my exposure to national parks over the course of my adventures, they often have group sites where like 3 side by side. And so like families on the outside, estuary stuff, potluck in the middle sounded like a great thing. But like without a family indoor budget, it's not something I could arrange. But I was trying to pitch the idea because I think that's a good next step.
What about a non-family, like old school man only wilderness experience?
Oh,
going like primal.
Experienced male to take us. I don't qualify. I have been watching a lot of Outdoor Boys though, so we'd probably survive.
What is Outdoor Boys?
That's Luke from Alaska. It's a YouTube channel. Somebody mentioned it on Twitter because of his physiognomy as a mouth breather, but I went and checked it out, and it's great. Second screen. Alaska's beautiful. It's interesting is like so much of the show turned out to be a cooking show, and it's like you get to virtually have dinner with this guy out in the middle of nowhere, and that's, I think, why it's as successful as it is. That, and he did it every Saturday for 100 years.
the one of my favorite places to camp in all of America is called Rock Island. It's like if this is Wisconsin,
That's Michigan. Only Michigan gets to be the hand.
No. We have Green Bay. We got a whole hand. Yeah, leave the mittens to the mittens. Okay, this is not a mitten. This is a hand. But you go up. There's like a little thing that comes off Wisconsin. When you get to the top of that, you can take a ferry to a place called Washington Island, and then you can drive across Washington Island, where there's like a really serious and kind of savage-looking Viking church made out of like mostly like logs and branches and sticks. And then you can park your car at the end of Washington Island and take a tiny ferry that kind of barely floats to Rock Island. And Rock Island, I mean, maybe it takes you 3 hours to walk like the circumference. But it's just like, it's a thin place. Every time I've been there, it just, there's a lighthouse there. You can go in the lighthouse and like read the lighthouse keeper's journals across years. There's like this weird building with these like old, I think it's like Swedish furniture with like the face of Thor carved into it. And there's an enormous, I mean, a fireplace bigger than any other fireplace I've seen, where you could like, a fireplace that would fit like a tree, like a whole tree log could be rolled in there. So like it's a fireplace for giants, kind of.
Is it in this place house? Or is that like in a hearthy room? Or was it in a long? Where was the fire?
It's in this building, so it's like a building. But the building is also a like a boathouse, because you can go down. So it's not a longhouse. I don't really know what a longhouse is, to be honest.
It would be longer, with like mainly a table room. You know, at the end of a table room is kind of how I see it.
Well, then, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's what this is. But it's also a boathouse where you could, like, yeah, you could pull into and then walk up into the longhouse.
Oh,
portion.
Sweet. Nice.
And yeah, it had some mafia history because of like the fur trade. They used to like hide fur on the island. So it's a strange island. Be a great place for a camping, because there's not like wild animals, so it's not really all that dangerous. Although I did almost die there once by drowning, but that was my own foolishness. But the first time I took friends there, most of the friends hadn't really gone camping. And so we were all going to eat together, and we were going to cook. There was like 8 of us. But my friends quickly realized that cooking together over a campfire is not a fast process. And so we spent like half of the Saturday like cooking and preparing and trying to just make a meal, because a campfire doesn't work like a stove does. And I had another friend from like a different friend group that joined this camping trip, and he's done a lot of wilderness stuff. So he showed up with like his backpacker meal, where you just pour hot water in, and it takes like, I don't know, 20 minutes to cook, eat, and be done. And then he's like watching us at the fire, and he's like, I'm gonna go hike the island. I'll see you guys like later tonight. And He comes back, and we're just now sitting down to eat. So yeah, I mean, everything has a place. Sometimes it's fun to cook a meal, and sometimes it's fun to spend $15 on a backpacker meal so you can eat and then run and experience the wilderness.
It's interesting. It's good to be that far away from all the Wi-Fi, even though there's still phone stuff out there now. It's just, and to remember how comfortable civilization has become, right? To the extent of backpacker meals. I mean, our ancestors went through some bro.
Yeah, it was. I haven't fully processed my time driving from Seattle to Anchorage, but once my phone stopped working, I had to like learn how to think again and how to be bored again, and I hadn't been forced into that probably since I had like a trades job where we traveled around like and did like flooring in strange Midwest places. And there were periods during there where I'd just be like running some kind of machine on a floor and just like thinking and be like, okay, like how long is this 2 hours going to take? But driving, what the strangest thing to me was I could, I don't know, think up a problem. Like, what's the difference between confidence and arrogance? And if I held that thought and started talking through that thought, I could like arrive at a solution or a possible connection, or like there were resources just in my body, brain, soul that could, I don't know if solve problem is the right phrase, but could chew on and spit up something, but I had to be like quiet enough and not distracted enough to allow my body, brain, soul to do what maybe it's meant to do.
And the driving is good because it keeps you just busy enough that you can't do anything else, and then your mind gets to that place. Yeah.
On your Discord, you have a channel or a category, and this is the one that intrigues me the most, where you're like building out a series of archetypes that are in some sense based on the TV series Firefly.
Sort of, yeah. That's from the Player's Handbook project.
Is the Player's Handbook from the LARP?
LARPgate, yeah, LARPgate Player's Handbook.
So should we start with LARPgate? Because I still haven't figured out what LARPgate is.
That's good. That's good. And by the time you figure it out, you should be on the other side. It's not unlike what you wanted to do with your game show. Like the whole unique persona. Who else are you? Like, I'm me, but I'm also this guy in this context. That's part of it. But the Player's Handbook is it's like using the D&D book system to map out the participation in things like the corner and online, as like the Reapers as a character class, the moderators and channel moderators, Discord moderators, that is a character class. The people that make community within the Discord as the character classes. So, and Firefly to me is just, has such a nice complement of archetypes that, like, I'd like at least that. So like Callie is the Discord moderator, that kind of deal. It's not a one-to-one mapping, but that was like I definitely want to have enough to encompass everything a community of this kind would need. Explicitly, like, so people like, I want to play, then they have it, they can look around and see where they might fit easier than having to be a ship captain and start a channel, you know, because there's plenty of other things around happening and to do that make this community what it is besides running a channel. It's like, as ship captains, we're the figureheads or whatever, but everybody else is here. They're not here just because they're not on the channel.
How important to you is it that everybody has a place, everybody can belong, everybody can have a role and jump in and participate, and there's room at the table for everybody?
Not very. That everybody's taking a place, gets recognized for the place they're taking, is more important to me than for everybody fitting in. It's like, not everybody needs this to be a part of what they have going on, but what it is a certain kind of special kind of service for the people that do need it. So that's more than inclusion. I'd like the people that are included to feel included.
As a ship captain, as someone who is actively captaining a ship and who is spending energy to maintain the ship, to set a course for a ship, yada yada, what are you sacrificing to be the captain?
Nothing comes to mind.
Were you born a captain?
No, it's part of the general persona that integrated through the portal in Littleton as part of the ingression. So everything the host sacrificed, I don't know. He made the K-Pax agreement, so those had already been sacrificed before I showed up. Put it that way.
What is the K-Pax agreement?
It's a reference to a Kevin Spacey movie.
Which one?
K-Pax.
K-Pax?
Yeah.
There's a movie called K-Pax.
Yeah. It's Kevin Spacey plays this guy who has an alien take over his body because he went through too much trauma, aka a patient in a mental institution, who and like his interaction with the therapist. It's good stuff. The worst part about it is the ends. He's saying that the reality is Nietzsche's recurrence, eternal recurrence. So you have to get it right the first time. That's kind of a bitch, but it's a good movie.
What do you think about eternal recurrence?
It's a nightmare.
Is it the nightmare that we're trying to wake up from?
No, it's like Nietzsche invented it, so it's his nightmare.
I agree with that. What roles are out there that you don't have captured yet on your Discord? Because I think there was only one that you had like fully fleshed out, and there was some note on the others that were like, this is still in progress.
Yeah, I went, like, I had to do the overview of all the character classes and then explicitly do the we call it the Sentinel at the moment, but it's like for channel moderators and Discord moderators, the people that deal with that make the problems go away.
Is that a person with a wrench? Is that what a moderator is?
Right. Yeah. On the, you'll see them in the hive mind as people with wrenches, and in Discord they have special roles or something.
Okay, so there's the Sentinel, but then there's other ones. Are there still more coming? Because how big is the crew on?
To define it myself. Yeah.
Are you wanting other people to jump in and define things? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would love for, like, everything I try to do, I like to be a collaborative shtick, because I'm gonna get it, and it's gonna be incomplete. And like the people that care about rules for character classes and stuff are the sort that would help me fill them out. The hard one's gonna be like Booker, like the people that the internal glue folks is hard to do as a character class. The people that make the little between people, the what basically the feminine part. Like I broke the Discord into two sections, like the Reaper's Hall and the Resonance Chamber. And the Resonance Chamber is supposed to be the internal one for like stuff like, oh, you remember that time he was on Paul's channel and said this? Like that kind of thing, that a real community snippets go into the social memory complex section there. But like Chamber 1 was supposed to be like, I had to put my cat to sleep, or, you know, just the kind of stuff that's not outward facing in the community, but inward stuff was the notion of that chamber and that role. And like, that's hard for me to recognize. And I don't even know that what's happening on the Discord yet. It might just be a bunch of dudes in a frat house on there, but that's what that section was for.
Are you saying that you built the structure of your Discord around masculine and feminine? Sort of.
To the extent masculine and feminine means external and internal, sure.
What do you think about the creation of Adam and Eve?
A helpmate would be nice.
Are you looking for a helpmate?
No. I think lots of things about Adam and Eve. What are you talking about?
Well, now I'm kind of curious about a helpmate would be nice.
Well, that's why Eve was created, as a help meet, somebody to help you meet things, I guess.
So I was talking to Hezi the other day, and I was asking some questions about some stuff I had heard about. I don't know how the Hebrew version of the story works in that language versus the English story, which I grew up in Sunday school hearing, because there's at least an argument out there that when God puts the human being to sleep, that what I was taught was like there's a rib that's taken from Adam and then Eve is built from a rib. But there's potentially another way to read that story that says it's more like there was a human being and God splits the human being into two, Adam on one side, Eve on the other side. And there's this idea that perhaps the masculine and the feminine are removed from the human being and then they become one again. And I wonder if it's not the task of every human being to wed the masculine and feminine within ourselves.
The task, I don't know. There's plenty of people who have died without fulfilling it, so maybe not.
Well, there's plenty of people who die and have never achieved any of the things they dreamed about, but they still dream.
I'm just saying, man, our task, it's awful explicit, but it's personal integration into a unified whole sounds like a good idea. I'm not opposed. As a homework assignment, though, it seems a bit much.
I'm probably overly task-oriented. I can't decide if I was always this way or if I need to course correct from being task-oriented or if I need to be balanced.
You get that kid to 3 and then worry about it. Because you're going to have to be task-oriented for a while. It's useful. Keep it for now. Revisit when you're 40. I mean, how it goes.
I got 7 years, and I heard 7's a good number.
But yeah, the task is good. Especially if it results in them being completed. That's even better.
The people who know you best, whoever they are, how would they describe you? They would say, they probably wouldn't say the word GrimGriz. They'd say some other word, and they would say, he is oriented. What kind of oriented are you?
I think most have wrote me off as insane and impossible to understand.
But that's not true of the people who know you on the internet.
Right. The people on the internet are more my people. Put a mask on so you can tell the truth, right? Yeah. I don't, there's not a lot of people and I don't know what they'd say.
Wait, you say there's not a lot of people who you don't know what they would say?
No, I said there's not a lot of people, and the ones that there are, I do not know what they would say. How they would describe me as a person, which way they would say I was oriented.
Yeah.
Like one would probably lean toward right-wing radical in his description, but that's just how deep in the set programming he is. So I don't hold it against him. He's a good friend.
I don't read you as being political. Do you view yourself as a very political creature? I guess I should say, and I don't mean politics in like a Plato Aristotle sense of like the original word politics, because I think that every human is a political creature, and I could be wrong about that argument, but I guess I more so mean like I don't view you as seeing voting as the as maybe you do vote. I don't know if you vote. Are you American political?
I like to harp on Jordan Peterson's Alliance for Responsible Citizenship for not defining responsible. I think a lot of the evil that's befallen my people is due to a lack of my people holding like up their end of the social contract, which is supposed to be holding the powers that be accountable. To the extent that's politics, okay. I do politics.
When you say your people, are you talking about your generation? Are you talking about internet people?
Oh, everybody on the tax farm. All the tax cattle combined. Those are my people. Not. I think intelligence is a bigger differentiator than skin color. You're all evolved monkeys. It's actually, see that whole thing. I like that what you were saying about Adam and Eve because it lines up with some a tribe apparently said about alien visitors. Like, you know how back in the day there was all these tribes nobody ever talked to.
Yeah.
One of them, when they contacted them, had that origin story that whatever we were was split into the two genders. So that's interesting. But officially, I'm pretty sure we're a tampered with abomination as far as creatures go.
I got my dog inside. I just got to open this door.
I'll take another 5. Hit balls if you want.
You know, thank goodness for animals with senses, because if my dog hadn't started howling to be let inside, I was worried you were going to start like revealing secrets from conspiracies. So again, little brainwashing was needed. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Should have gave you savings stores.
If I ever heard one thing from you that is clearer than any other thing I've heard from you, it's paintball for Jesus.
Good. That's important.
And not only is it clear, but it's like quite applicable, quite practical. I mean, dare I say, even task oriented.
It's actually on my to-do list this week to contact paintball places, because our mutual, through the power of the corner, someone has stepped up to help me make it happen, and so we're taking a swing at it. Talk to your youth pastor today.
When you say take a swing at it, are you talking about playing paintball before Midwestuary, or are you talking about
the actual thing? I mean, the doing it before Midwestuary was something that almost launched as a thing we do before estuaries. because we did it in Chino, but I think it stopped after that. I think they may have done it in Thunder Bay first, and then it happened in Chino. But that's not the thing. The thing is actually about getting kids into churches, and then that getting them into churches gets them onto a paintball team. So.
And what does getting them onto a paintball team get them?
Something, it gets them embodied human interaction with people of their age cohort in a team building exercise that resembles urban combat and off of video games, theoretically. Or as like some that would otherwise have nothing but video games, something that puts them around other people.
Yeah, I love that. What is your favorite embodied participatory thing to do in Oklahoma?
I don't do those, so it'd be fair to pick one. It'd be unfair to pick one.
Why don't you do those?
It's part of a social contract I've made with my existing reality. I think, I don't know, but I'm part of being a cautionary tale is being a cautionary tale.
How convinced are you that your story ends with caution?
Convinced? I'm not convinced of anything. I'm open to surprise.
Because from the outside, from someone who barely knows you, I've watched a fair amount of your content. It's really not content. Content's kind of a dirty word. I apologize for using the word content to describe what you do, because it might appear like content, but I really don't think it is content.
It's mostly space making, place making.
There is a lot of space, a lot of place, and
atmospheric engineering, perhaps.
And there's at least one place, but I'm sure there are other places. There's at least one place where I have lurked and watched you that is not your ship, where it has looked like you have been, the character you are there is quite joyful. Not that you're not joyful on your own ship, but it's a different GrimGriz I see in this other place. And I'm not going to say the other place because
we mock him for having no subscribers.
Oh, what? Huh?
If it's the place I'm thinking of,
should I say the place? Because if I say the place, then what if two people hear the place and then go the place to see joyful GrimGriz? And then what if GrimGriz feels like, oh, well, I can't be joyful in this place anymore, so therefore I must retreat into the state of my reality, and I shall find a different way to embody digital interference.
I think we'll be fine.
Okay, well, I really enjoy lurking on Afrail Pilotson's streams, which the link will be in the description down here. And like there is when I see, well, I don't know, like I met Afrail in real life and had a wonderful, I don't know if it was 2 hours, maybe we spent 3 hours, I'm not sure, together. We wandered this strange place and with Matt Skonkenstein, and the three of us were just trying to find we were trying to find the wall on which you push against the wall and the wall opens into a door. Then there's like a little secret bar back there, which eventually we did. And then I watch you hang out with Afrail Pilotson, and it seems obvious to me that the two of you have like just a very deep and beautiful friendship and really enjoy each other. despite the words you use when you speak to each other. And then you guys are working on this other project that's going to be behind a paywall, at least for a time, where you're talking to Ra. And I just look at you and I go,
Talking to would be a stretch. I'll have to disclaim.
Well, we'll see where it goes, right? I mean,
it could happen. I'm not ruling that out either, but right now we're talking more about than to. So it's fine.
Okay, talking about Ra. And I just don't see your life as a cautionary tale. Granted, I have no right, or I'm completely undeserving to say anything about what your life is or what direction is headed in. But I expect to encounter you in flesh and blood at Midwestuary. And I also expect to see Mr. Joy himself, probably surrounded by other humans that want to interact and paintball together and eat together, and it just doesn't feel cautionary.
Well, it's the label is an effective "don't try this at home" without having to say that all the time. So there's that purpose of it.
What are the chances you move from Oklahoma? Are you in Oklahoma forever, for life?
The way it looks is that I'm in Oklahoma for as long as there's 5 animals alive that I'm responsible for, because they make it very hard to move. So that's what it looks like.
Kayfabe the dog, Kikitron.
She was the newest one. She came in because like Kayfabe was chasing something in the backyard. That happened to be Kikitron, missing half of her tail. There's the original Buddy the cat. There's the I have to stop this talk with Marylander because Sylvia's having kittens. And then there's the Oliver's twin. Oliver was another male cat that I couldn't bring in the house because you can one male cat per house unless you're an asshole. And so when he died, there was this other one in the neighborhood who looks exactly like him that happens to be female, and she lives here now. So yeah, 4 cats and 1 dog and me in this place.
Have you always loved animals?
I don't see much difference between loving animals and loving people because humans are mainly animals. That you stretch the distinction is just a convenience to the way you treat pigs and cows. Like, bacon's delicious. I don't really care if it never got to turn around in its whole life. Ha ha ha. So, yeah, maybe.
Have you always loved people?
No. I mean, people can deserve it. Animals usually don't. I mean, some people, but not on the whole. I haven't loved people.
Do you think that we, you, I, others, like, how do we love each other better? How do we, what does it take to expand the space for love to grow in your life?
I think the best medicine is a deep embrace of your own mortality. Because when it starts being a matter about deciding on what the sum is, like when it's all said and done, Will I have been the type of person that was like this? That level of reflection, I think, is the best medicine.
So you're saying we should whistle through the graveyard and reflect upon the stones.
I'm saying take a look at your life through the lens of your obituary every now and then. And adjust accordingly. You want to leave it there?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, man. It was good.
Grizwald Grim, thank you. I need to welcome you out since I welcomed you in. So, yeah, you're welcome to get out of here. You've been welcomed out. Thanks for coming into the Abusir paper, Simpy. It was really nice to have you, and I very much look forward to the potential of experiencing you in flesh and blood.
Yeah, it'll be fun in mid-February.
What
clubs, man.
What Chicago food are you looking forward to most? That's my final question.
Chicago food? I'm gonna try and crash Sherry's bed and breakfast and have her make brunch again, and that'd be the best.
Watch out, Sherry. Grizwald Grim is coming. Goodbye.